Hi guys, how are you doing today? So we're just going to wait 5 minutes for everyone to connect to audio. I see a lot of people haven't. So we'll give it a few minutes. So we'll start at 25 past just to give everyone a fair amount of time to join us. So how are you guys? You can write to me in the chat, okay? So please make use of the chat to communicate with me. Also, if you'd like to answer a question, you can write me in the chat or you can just raise your hand if you know how to use the raise hand function on Zoom. Great, you're good, fantastic, excellent. Cool. I don't know why so many people haven't connected to the audio. So we'll start the session by going over what we spoke about in the last class. And then we'll start with our lecture for today. Spatial says, online is more difficult than I thought. You know, I don't think it's necessarily difficult. I think it's just different and we are not used to working online. So a lot of companies and education systems and students are going through this process of digital transformation in different industries, and we have to get used to working digitally and working online. I know it's challenging in the beginning, but the more we do it, we'll get used to it. Let me just help Dia. Okay, please connect to audio. See, so we need to work around these issues. Let me just see, I have something, guys. I'm just going to stop sharing so I can give someone a document that I have. Let's see here if I can send anything in the chat. I can't. Let me just see who else didn't connect. So many people didn't connect to audio. Guys, just give me a second. I'm going to try to help them to connect to audio by using the things I use to help kids. Okay, so guys, let me just tell them here. Please see here how to connect to audio. Okay, so you need to join with computer audio. and then click here. And then that's the chat. Okay, I think that's everything that you guys know. So let me see, did she connect? She connected. Okay, I'll close this. Okay, so how is everyone doing today? We have 22 students. We're going to start now. Are you all good?
I'm not sure if my mic is working. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, I'm fine, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So Loazi didn't connect, so somebody can just, I don't know if you guys can message each other here. I'm not sure if I enable that function, but if someone can message Loazi and just help him to connect to the audio. Remember that all microphones are muted, okay? And then if you'd like to speak, you can just raise your hand or write your comment in the chat, okay? So let's get started with our lecture for today. So before we get into the continuation of reading, can somebody tell me what we spoke about in the last lecture? Yes, Kylie, so I hope I said your name correctly.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Ma'am, we spoke about the reading for study purposes in terms of like decoding, using text, understanding text, analyzing. We spoke about ECT.
Good, the ECT method, yes, excellent.
Yes. We spoke about SQ3R.
Excellent.
And then we spoke about before reading, your scanning, your skimming, your brainstorming, and your predicting.
Excellent, fantastic. That was all the questions that I was going to ask you for today. So for the lecture for last week. So yes, we did speak about the ECT method when it comes to reading, and then we went through the 7 steps method. Okay, we went very briefly through the SQ3R method, but if you guys saw your brief for your assignment on Call Campus, which we're also going to discuss today, there's a question about the SQ3R method. And then, of course, we went through the pre-reading stage of scanning, predicting, skimming, and brainstorming. And we also discussed 2 points during reading. We discussed inferring meaning from the text. So who can tell me what infer means? Yes, Nazipo.
Ma'am, when I remember correctly, you said inferring is reading between the lines.
Exactly. I think a lot of the students got that message, which is fantastic. Yes. So when we infer, we're reading between the lines. Okay. And it's tricky for students to do this kind of activity, and it involves a lot of practice. So we need to understand the information that's not always stated explicitly. And then what did we say about clarifying the text? Yes, Kylie, so.
Ma'am, I think we said that clarifying the text is like basically reading for like the literal meaning, understanding the words like literally what are they saying.
Exactly.
Meaning.
Exactly. Yes. So very good. So we said that inferring is reading between the lines, and then we get to the clarifying stage is when we understand the literal meaning of the text. So we have to understand the actual words, okay, and the vocabulary that's used to evaluate and understand what it's exactly saying. So today we're going to continue with during reading, and we're going to get into questioning the text. So before I tell you why it's important to question the text, you're going to tell me why you think it's important to question the text. And I'd like for everybody to participate, okay? Not just the same people over and over. Let's try to get everyone's opinions in the class.
Can we answer, ma'am?
So if you'd like to answer, you can raise your hand or you can write me in the chat, okay? So yes, it's your iPhone, you can answer.
Oh,
Yeah, it's okay.
okay, I'm still trying to figure out.
Yeah, you just need to rename yourself. Yeah. Okay, you can answer.
Okay,
how do I say your name?
I can answer now.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we should question the text because, you know, there's a lot of writers these days and some of the text that we read is fake news. And the other reason we should question the text is for better understanding, you know, to go into detail and also to understand the context of where the text is coming from. Am I right?
Yes, no, of course, fantastic. That's an excellent answer. It's Mahlatsi, right? I hope I said it correctly.
Mahlati, yes, ma'am.
Yes. So guys,
And ma'am, I have
yeah,
one last thing to say.
yeah.
I noticed that some of the students are struggling to come onto this Zoom session because of the second link.
So they need to get into the first link. Why are they struggling with the second link?
I don't know, because a lot of us were camping on the second link. We just found out now that there's the first one.
Okay, so you guys must see this involves reading properly. So the first link is the first session, and then the second link, there's a second lesson. So if you know anyone that's on that second link, please just tell them to get over on the side. Okay.
Yes, ma'am, I'll do that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's just our first week, so you're gonna have.
No, I will definitely. I understand. Don't worry about it. I'll also make sure that if anyone needs the information, they will get it. Okay. So yes. So
Okay,
Mahlati brought through some excellent points. We need to look at this information and we need to criticize it or read it critically. Okay, so we're not just accepting what we are receiving, the information that we are receiving. We need to see, is it valid information? Is it reliable? Is it relevant? Okay, and we can do it in various ways, which we're going to go through now. First, we're going to question ourselves. We're going to question the author, and then we're also going to question others for our understanding, etc. Other texts are biased, it's biased, and that is why we should question the text. Okay, yes. So remember we spoke about last week about these constructed objects that are being put out into the world with different agendas, different biases, etc. So we should always be questioning. Okay, so let's get into the first part, which is self-questioning. So self-questioning requires a high level of metacognition, i.e. an awareness of and reflection of one's thought processes. So we spoke a little bit about this in our first lecture, I remember. Why do you think it's important to think about your thinking and how you think? Good, Karabo, in the chat, excellent. So my question is about thinking. Why is it important?
Ma'am, I think it's important.
Mahlati, you don't just answer, okay? You need to either raise your hand or write me. So we must get used to this habit, okay? So
okay,
remember, lots of people want to answer, so we need to get used to this online way of working, okay?
I apologize once again.
So I saw somebody else had their hand up. Okay, Mahlati, you can answer.
Okay, ma'am, I think we need to question our thinking because we all come from different backgrounds and we are all biased to what we believe as individuals. So that's why we need to question our thinking so that we can welcome the thoughts of others and their perceptions as well.
Yes, okay, so let me just tell everybody the page number. We are on page 56, okay? So guys, we need to, I know this is our first week of online lectures, but we need to get used to this online way of working. We don't just speak out, okay? We can write in the chat But remember that lots of people want to answer, and this is why I say raise your hand or write me in the chat so I can see who I want to give the opportunity to answer. Okay? All right. So yes, of course. So self-questioning, because we have our own biases, okay? We've been subjected to lots of different ways of thinking. Okay, we've been conditioned. And we need to sometimes question ourselves to unlearn and relearn. Okay, new information or correct information, etc. So we need to reflect on the thoughts that emerge, and this is going to influence how we engage with the topic at hand and our responses to it. Okay. So at this stage, you're just reflecting on your understanding of the text and not the literal meaning. Any questions or comments? Notando, you would like to say something?
Yes, ma'am. What page did you say we were on?
56.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, ma'am, to disturb. Can I ask?
Shali, so remember I said we must get used to this way of working online. You either raise your hand or you write me in the chat, right?
How do I raise my hand, ma'am?
Okay, so there's an option in the participants list. So look in the participants list. Do you see the participants?
Okay.
And then
Yes.
yes. Okay. Or just write me in the chat. It's simple. Okay.
On
So
the chat.
yeah, just write me if you want to answer so that I know you want to speak. Okay, you can speak now,
Okay.
Shali. Yes? Yes,
Oh,
Shali?
I wanted to answer the first question, ma'am. You were
Yeah.
asking why is it important to think about what we think.
Yes.
It's because we, as people, like we already have a background information about something. We all come from somewhere. So we already have a knowledge, our own knowledge. So we have to be able to think about how we think because somebody else is going to give us the new information.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to get different types of information, different ways of thinking. So we got to question ourselves. Yes, Bukeka, you'd like to say something?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to say that I don't know if I'm right, but I did hear you say something like this in the previous lesson,
Yeah.
that sometimes it's important to question yourself when you're reading a text so that you can sort of brainstorm what you already know about the text without even reading the full text, just so it's easier to understand the text.
Yes, definitely. Fantastic, Bukeka. That's exactly what I said. Great that you were listening. Yes, Karabo.
Ma'am, I think self-questioning is basically about brainstorming. Like if you brainstorm, then you'll be able to question yourself, ask questions about what have you read and what's it that you're reading, so that you can get more understanding and related questions about specific genres of what you're reading.
Okay,
I don't
good.
know if I'm making sense.
No, good. So remember, we discussed brainstorming in the pre-reading session. Please keep your microphones muted, guys. What's going on? So remember, microphones should be kept muted. I know this is a new way of working and it's not easy for you guys. Okay, so microphones are muted. And also, Bukeka says you can raise your hand in the reactions icon. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay. Let's continue. Questioning the author or the source. Why should we question the author or the source? Yes. Let's see. DS Dia.
Hi, ma'am. I think we should question the author or the source because you don't really know if it'll be true or not. And, you know, it could be false information as well. So
Yes.
I think that's why it's important to question the source or the author.
Very good. Okay. Let's see who else. Yes, Lusanda, you'd like to say something. Yes, Lusanda.
Ma'am, is this the first slide that you're on?
Listen,
I think
Sally, why is your mic open? So, Lusanda, this is not the first slide. It's the second slide. So, guys, one person needs to speak at a time. We keep our microphones muted. Tato, you'd like to say something?
Yes, to also have an understanding of what the author is saying so that you get a more or less idea on how to make people also understand.
Exactly. Okay, cool. So we need to understand that here we are learning academically, okay, and we're getting used to a particular field and a body of knowledge. Now you're going to become a participant in this field, and you're going to need to offer your opinion, and you need to back it up. Okay, and in this way, we need to understand the information that we are reading. And we spoke about it, I bring it up again and again, that everything, all the information that we read, okay, whether it's visual or written information, they are constructed objects. And we need to understand what the author is saying. We need to critique it, okay, for our own learning. And we can get and ascertain the main argument, okay, and we can substantiate the argument and maybe even substantiate our own argument towards it, okay? So we can ask ourselves the following questions. What is the author trying to convince me of? To which school of thought does this author belong? So we get various different schools of thoughts. For example, people are communists, people are liberals, okay? What effect does it have on the way they think and the information they produce? Okay, do I disagree or agree with this author? Okay, why? What information am I getting that's making me agree or disagree? So, does the author give credible evidence towards their argument? Okay, has it been researched? Is it fact-based? Is there a gap in the argument, and can we fulfill this gap with other information that's valid? Okay, which other authors agree or disagree with this author, and why? Okay, Simpiwe, can somebody please assist Simpiwe with the audio, please? He's struggling a little bit. Please help him to connect to the audio. He needs to connect from the computer. Please, can someone send Simpiwe a message? Okay, let me try to assist him. I'm just sending a message. The audio settings. Guys, why is people's mics being unmuted like during this? Okay, so I see. Okay. Questions, comments? Remember to lower your hand. Okay. Because I don't know who's wants to ask or who was previously asking. Okay, yes, Kylie, so you would like to say something? And Sally as well. Okay. Kylie, so first. Yes.
Ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, so in history, we normally used to have like textbooks and stuff like that we'd read and sources and so on. However, the sources that we got from school, most of the time, let's say we had to create a line of argument essay.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, it's as if like the sources that we got we always had to agree with the author. Why is it that the sources always made us agree and there was no maybe other information or other sources in that academic book that made us maybe choose whether we want to agree or disagree? It was as if like we're forced to agree with everything that the author said in our history textbooks.
Yeah, that's horrible actually, because we should be allowed to debate and have different sources of information and question things. So we should always be questioning, even the textbooks that we're reading right now, always question, okay? Yeah, I'm not sure why they do that in the schooling system. Okay, I'm sorry that you experienced that. Yes, Sally, and then after that, Sunkobile. I think that's how I say the name. Yes, Sally. Sally.
Yes, sorry, ma'am. I got here a bit late. I kind of want to ask: is this the first slide or the second slide you're on?
This is the first session that we're on. We're just discussing reading at the moment. Okay, what we do during the process of reading. Okay.
So this is the first slide.
Not the first slide. This is the third slide.
Oh, okay. Is it also available on the core campus?
The slides are available on Core Campus. The lecture link won't be available on Core Campus.
All right, thank you. That's fine.
Okay, so guys, I just want to let you know, if you want to get the video recordings from me, just send me an email. Okay, if you don't know my email, serenalecturer@gmail.com, and I will send you the MP4 video because I wouldn't have converted it yet. Okay. Sngobile, do you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. Can you kindly explain bullet number 3?
Okay, so I think I did explain it, but I'll explain it again. So when we say to which school of thought does this author belong? So we need to understand in the world, there's different ways of thinking, there's different theories that we can categorize different people. So one of the ways that we can categorize people, I'm just giving you one example, is of capitalists and communists. Okay, we see these two schools of thought affect a lot of the way in which the world runs and the way they do things, and it's quite conflictual. Now, when we look at those two schools of thought, it affects everything from whether people should have abortions to whether global warming exists. Okay, so that's what we mean. To which school of thought does this author belong? We always need to research. Somebody was speaking about Joe Rogan the other day. We need to think now, what does he believe? What is he thinking? Is he a liberal? Is he a conservative? Okay, and does everything that he think align with what we think? Okay, so that's what we mean when we talk about school of thought. How does this author think? Okay, so then we get to the next part, which is questioning others, which is also really important. And we did touch on it last week. So we enhance our knowledge and understanding by questioning others who are studying the same subject or matter that we are reading. We can do it in different ways: reading groups, tutorials, discussions, okay, when we interact with any of our classmates in different contexts, socially, etc. And in this way, we not just sharing knowledge, but we're learning information. Who wants to tell me why questioning others is important as well? Yes, Maklatsi.
Ma'am, I have a question regarding questioning myself before I answer your question.
Yes, go ahead.
My question is, would me allowing other people question the way I think and engaging with those that question me, would that be regarded as me questioning how I think?
Yes, because it's causing you to reflect on how you think and what you think. Okay, so anything that's a type of reflection, okay, is questioning your thought processes. Yes, anything else you want to add, Maklatsi, before I move on to the next speaker?
Oh no, ma'am, that's all.
Okay, yes, Tato, you'd like to say something?
Oh, ma'am, I was saying it is also important to ask questions so that you get clarity.
Yeah.
Or wherever you have difficulty, you are exposed to more information.
Exactly. Okay, so guys, I won't be able to let everybody speak at every question, okay? Because if we only have like 1 hour, 20 minutes, I might have to send another link if we go over, so it's for 2 hours, okay? So yes, of course. So we need to think about how other people think, okay? And it's useful because we engage more with the reading material, we understand it better, we get different or alternative viewpoints. Okay, and this is why group work sometimes is so essential. I do a lot of group work. Okay, I know that we don't like it, but we get so many different perspectives and it's really useful. Okay, so then we move on. Let me just move this down, sorry. Searching for and using tools to answer questions about the text. So we spoke a little bit about this. Okay, and we said that when we encounter a text, there's a probability that there are ideas or vocabulary, etc., that we don't understand. Okay, when we get to college level, I know there's a lot of concepts that I came across that I don't understand, and we need to clarify these. We can either use a dictionary, etc., so we can get a better understanding. Okay, and we can also consult external resources. So what tools can we use? Dictionaries, textbooks, commentaries, lecture, tutorial, seminar notes, okay, and selected media texts. So I'll just go through the ones I think that you won't understand. So a commentary, these are written by subject experts, okay, it's usually in a written format, okay. You'll find it on things like ResearchGate, etc. And they try to explain something or interpret it in a different way. Okay, they usually have a master's degree most times. I think selected media text is when you find different articles online that can explain complex terms, etc. Okay, guys, we have 10 minutes of this session before we have to get into the next one. Okay, so summarizing the text. Why is summarizing the text necessary and useful? Yes, Shirley.
I think it's very important to summarize your text so that you won't have like long information, which is unnecessary. You have to choose what is important to put in your text and summarize it so that you can be able to understand.
Excellent. Lorata, you'd like to say something?
Ma'am, I also believe that to summarize, it's also helpful due to writing the most fundamental information, the most useful.
Good, excellent. Okay, Bukeka.
Ma'am, I think it's important to summarize the text because it's easy to remember your words than remembering somebody else's words, if that makes sense. And you only really understand a text when it's written in your own words, because you can't summarize something you don't understand.
Exactly, exactly. Very good. So all of those answers are actually correct. Matlati has a point. Please don't forget to lower your hand after answering a question, okay? Just remember that. So yes, here we go. Summarizing involves reading a text, understanding its meaning, and then rewording it in a shortened and more simplified form. So we identify the key concepts and we understand the core meaning. When we represent information in our own words, we can solidify our existing knowledge and create new knowledge. Okay, so we can summarize in different forms, which we're going to get into right now. So these are just a few guidelines of how to summarize. Include only the main points, answer the main questions, write your summary in a format that's easiest to understand or convert into graphic organizers, annotations, okay, which we'll get into, and don't include unnecessary information or examples that could make the notes bulky. Sometimes when you see a lot of notes, you're like, I don't even want to read it, okay? Use concise language and use your own words. Any questions? Yes, Sally.
Ma'am, I'm lost. What's the whole purpose of this? Is it to teach us how to study, or is this part of our assessment?
So guys, this is not part of your assessment. Remember, we're doing language literacy at the moment. So we are doing reading skills, writing skills, listening skills, and this information is going to help you with the text that you're going to get in the future and that you're going to encounter. This is why we do language literacy, because I can tell you that it's not easy to understand information that you get in certain contexts. You may think that you know it, others may not know it. We're not sure of how to process difficult information sometimes. Okay, so we are on reading, and this is part of language literacy. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Shirley. Oh, was it just Shirley who spoke right now?
Yeah, it is me, ma'am. I feel like you didn't answer him in a way, because like you didn't answer if we're going to have this as our assignment or it's just
okay. So if you guys, there's some things that we are going to use from here in our assessment. Okay, So we do need to know and understand this information. If anyone went through the assessment brief, you would see that there's a question on the SQ3R. Okay, and then the skills that you're learning in all types of literacies is going to help you with your assessments. So we do need to understand this information and how to use this information. Is that a better answer?
Yes, that's a better answer, man. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Cool, thanks for letting me know. Let's continue. So visualizing the text using graphic organizers. What is a graphic organizer? Yes, Kylie, so.
Ma'am, I think graphic organizers are like visual representations such as mind maps. Yeah, for example, mind maps.
Okay, good, excellent. So we get different types of visual or graphic organizers, and yes, mind maps are one part of them. And last week we spoke a little bit about how we absorb information more visually. Okay, and this is why it's interesting to have these kind of graphic organizers. So we see here, when reading for the purpose of studying, it's often valuable to reorganize the information to a new visual format. The reader is required to select the most relevant information and transform it into a visual representation. We need to remember that the original message should not be lost in this process. Sometimes it can get overwhelming. Okay, the more you engage with it actively, you'll understand. Okay, and we're going to get into them right now. So the first one is a concept map. I've never done this one before, but I think it's used a lot in like life sciences or biology. A concept map is a top-down diagram showing relationships between concepts, cross connections between concepts, and cross connections amongst concepts and the examples. Has anyone used this kind of graphic organizer?
Nope.
Diaz has, Hakasi hasn't, Sally has, okay. So for some people, this can be really useful. And I think when you're studying something quite technical, it can be very useful. Okay, so keep it in mind. The next one we have is a mind map, which most of us use. I use this one as well. So here we can use different colors, shapes, words, and the information is organized radially. So it means it begins at a central point and it goes outwards. And it follows a hierarchical order. Okay, so it's in hierarchy. And it's a free creative expression of information. So I think most of us have come across this. Who finds it useful? Yes, I also think it's really fun to use. So there's one, I'll keep it in the chat. There's one that you can use online. It's called MindMeister. I use this one a lot. I'll put it in the chat. It's very useful. Okay, so it's an online tool where you can create mind maps instead of putting pen to paper. Okay, and then the next one we have is a conceptual diagram. So these represent theories or models or abstract concepts, and it's rigid and very systematic. So it shows relationships between predefined concepts, and they serve to represent a form of analysis or methodology. Has anyone come across a conceptual diagram? Okay, cool. I see some interesting answers in the chats. Questions, comments? Yes, Lorato? So we'll just give everyone a few minutes to get into the second link. I ran out of time before I could tell everyone that they should get here. So just give me a second. I want to get the third link just in case we run out of time, which I think we will. Let me just get it here. Give me a second. Okay. Okay, so let me share my screen and we'll continue. So I think Lorato had a question. Yes, Lorato. She here? It is a little bit challenging with online lectures, also because of this links, and we have 2 links. I don't like it, but the way it is. Okay, let's give everyone a few minutes to get listen. Please keep your microphones muted. Methodology means a way of doing something. So what is the method that we follow when we do referencing? There's a particular way that we reference information, so we have to understand the methodology. Okay? Method is like the way to do something. How do you make an egg? There's a method. How do you study? There's a method. Okay? Does that answer your question? Just give me a second. I want to help with some audio issues, guys. So you cannot record this meeting. Only one person can record the meeting, and that's me, because I need to save it. Okay, so if you would like the information, you can send me an email. Tato, let me just see Tato. Tato, just...
Oh, no, ma'am, I'm sorted. Thank you. It was on my side.
Yeah. Sally, how do we study? What do you mean, how do we study? We read like we've been doing right now, and we see the methods and recitation, which we get into. Okay. Okay, guys, let's continue. So the next one is a visual metaphor. So metaphors commonly occur in textual descriptions where we use one thing to represent another. We know we get metaphors and similes, if you remember English. So a visual metaphor works in the same way, except they are represented graphically rather than just in words. And we use them in advertising and other forms of visual communication. So we can use these to represent new information by drawing on older existing ideas that carry the same meaning. So if you had a look at your notes, this is an example of a visual metaphor. Okay. Has anyone used a visual metaphor before? I haven't either. Okay, but it looks like there's a lot of information and a lot of things you have to understand. If you look on page 63 of your textbook. It gives you another example of a visual metaphor. Maybe that's easier to understand. And you can see the concepts and ideas represented more clearly, okay, compared to my one. I couldn't take a photo of the textbook, unfortunately. Okay, we can use different colors, fonts, shapes, images, state the key point and central ideas, okay? And we need to remember that when we use a graphic organizer, that it stimulates creativity and we can memorize information better and retain the information better. So that's why it's always good to use them. Who finds it better to learn from a visual organizer? Okay, yes, Matlati, you have a question.
Yes, ma'am. My question is a visual metaphor the same as caricature that we read on newspapers?
No, no. So a caricature has a political point of view. Okay.
Oh, okay.
They use it for political reasons. Yeah.
Also, it only differs because caricature is based on politics.
No, it's two different things. Okay. So a caricature, okay. Yeah, it's two. Here we're representing information visually for reading and understanding purposes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So a caricature, yeah. Okay. So it has, especially when it comes to language and politics, it has a different kind of meaning or sense. Okay, so we use it to, I know that I've seen it a lot in political situations, okay, with different figures, and we see it coming out of France a lot as well. But it's like an exaggerated or funny image, okay?
Oh, okay, ma'am, I understand. I just thought it's one and the same thing because I saw images and, you know.
Yes, no, it's not. It's not. Okay, it's two different things, two different purposes. Okay, I prefer to write with different colors, etc. I hardly use visual representations. Okay, but when I do, it's easier to understand and make studying more effective. Okay, cool. So yes, remember we all learn in different ways. Okay, but remember also that visually we absorb more information, and there's studies that prove this. So that's why it could be useful for other people. Questions? Yes, this is the continuation. We're talking about graphic organizers, and we were talking about visual, sorry, what is it? Visual metaphors. Yeah, visual metaphors. So we need to understand that when we use graphic organizers, which are visuals, we need to do it in a way that makes sense to us. So it's personal for us, not for anybody else, okay? Do it in a way that makes you understand and retain the information better. So let's get into post-reading. So here we are aiming to develop your response to the text. You should reflect on not only what you've learned, but on your opinions and critique of the reading. So we should review the text, share your interpretations with others, and analyze and synthesize different perspectives on the text. Okay, so we got into the reading phase and we got different perspectives, and now we need to analyze and review and see what's right, not right, but what I say, what makes sense and what doesn't make sense to us, because there's subjective views on what is right. So you can draw meaning from the reading process as a whole and consolidate your understanding to absorb new knowledge and information. Any questions? Comments? Yes, Shirley?
So, ma'am, after reading is like writing a conclusion, your own conclusion about what you have read.
So remember, there's different things that will be asked from us, okay? So we need to have a good understanding of what our point of view is, okay? And we need to know what this topic means if it's a very difficult topic. So we need to recall important information and understand it. Okay, so we're also going to answer questions about what we've read in this way to increase our understanding. So it's not a, you could say it's a conclusion, but conclusion has various meanings. Okay, so maybe we could say it's to consolidate instead of say conclude. So during the reading process, you may have had many questions, technical aspects, vocabulary, complex ideas or theories, and these are going to come into your mind in a subconscious way, okay? You're going to question a lot of things. So this is different from when the text is analyzed and critiqued, okay? Because here, these are just new questions that are coming into your mind from what you've just read. So we can ask the following questions to stimulate new ideas, questions within the text provided by lecturers or lectures, study guides, previous exam papers, etc. about this text itself. Yes, so testing yourself is part of after reading. I wouldn't say I wouldn't call it testing, but if you would like to say that, if you do that in a particular way, it's for your understanding, okay? So basically that's what we do to get a better understanding. We'll get new questions that are coming into our minds about this text, and we have to see if we understand the text correctly. We will then be faced with the situation of having our prior knowledge and new knowledge, okay, in tandem, because what we thought about what we read versus what this new information is, and we need to consolidate and review. Okay, so is what I thought correct? Is it right? Is it useful? And then we can study the information to consolidate what we've read. Any questions? Comments? So we're still on the process of reading, and we know that we're moving more into a digital and technological era where we get different kinds of material that is online and also hard covers, hard copies, etc. So we need to see how we can engage with both kinds of material. So it says there that all kinds of material should be approached in the same way according to the reading strategies that we've discussed thus far. Does anyone find it difficult to read online material, online PDFs, online documents?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
Yeah, I think so. It is challenging. It is challenging. So we're going to discuss some ways that we can actually go through the information and use various tools that we can engage with. It is different. It is different. But we have to get used to this way of working. Right now, we're in an online class. We also have to get used to this way of working. Okay? I was telling the other class that things are changing phenomenally. All industries are digitally transforming. So it's good to have these skills and to develop these skills. Yes, so Shirley says, yes, we're online and it's not nice. Yes. So it's just the fact that we have to get used to it. Okay. So we've been so structured with contact all the time. Okay. And this is, it's different. It's different. Sally, I don't know if there was a class yesterday. I didn't have a class yesterday. Oh, you missed a different class, maybe. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a process of getting used to it, guys. It can be challenging in the beginning. We know everything is challenging in the beginning. Okay. A new job, a new college or university, transitioning between the two. So we have to keep practicing, okay, to get used to it. Okay, cool, Sally. All right, so let's go. So how do we annotate for printed materials? So we spoke a little bit about this. Annotations can be quite useful, and we said only annotate if it belongs to you. And it involves the process of making physical markings on a page by underlining words, main concepts, highlighting, etc. So it fulfills three main functions. So identify the topic sentence of each paragraph. It draws the reader's attention to keywords and phrases. And it helps the reader locate new and unfamiliar terms, which require clarification. Annotations should have a clear goal and purpose. So we're not just drawing there a stick man just because we're bored, okay? It needs to have a goal and a purpose and why the information is important. Once again, we need to remember that annotating is personalized and it should be logical and have meaning to you. Okay, who annotates? Yes, Sally?
What is to annotate?
Annotates means when you write notes in a book or an online document. Okay, so you write your understanding for, like right now we're having a lecture, and then you could be writing on the document what I'm saying or trying to understand or have a better understanding. Yes, Tato?
Oh. I was saying I also do it a lot.
Oh, yes. I also do it a lot as well. I do it a lot. It's very helpful. So we're going to get into reading electronic books and articles. Does anyone read books online? Zapiso does. Keka. I tried, but I prefer audiobooks. They are terrible. I wrote notes. Sally, I write notes in my scribbler. I do, even though I prefer hard copy. Okay, so yes, okay, so it is challenging once again, and there's a few reasons for this. As we know, texts are available in online formats these days, and you will encounter it quite a bit. So we should approach it in the same way to all the other reading strategies that we've discussed thus far, but there are some differences that we have to take into account. So the reason why it's difficult is because when we engage with the hard copy, we have more spatio-temporal markers. So spatio-temporal refers to space-time, which means that we spend more time engaging with the book. We touch the book, we can flip the pages, okay? So we engage more with it, whereas online we don't have that kind of access, okay, because it's not physical. So we need to understand how to become familiar with annotating electronic texts. When we create our own spatio-temporal markers, we'll be able to orientate ourselves and engage with the text more effectively. Okay, so these days we get a lot of PDFs that we come across, and we have to understand how we can work with them. Questions? Yes, so we're going to look at some strategies, okay? It is distracting because we have a lot of distractions like YouTube, it's so easy, okay? Or WhatsApp, we're always looking at our phone, but we need to learn how to work in this new way. So when I said spatio-temporal markers refer to space-time, okay? So it means that you engage with the material more when you have a hard copy of it, okay? So we need to look at how we can create more of these online markings on PDFs and electronic formats, okay? So it means markers, making markers or notes, etc. digital formats. Do you think in the future books will only be available online? No, I don't think so, but I think that online formats are becoming more and more popular. I also like reading online, to be honest. I have to be honest with you. I have textbooks online and I have a lot of the same tools. And I find it easier because, you know, I don't need to search through the whole textbook to find one word or sentence or thought. I just do Control F, type in the keyword, and I can get all the keywords with that. And I can even find answers to multiple choice questions in that way. So for me, it really does work. Okay, we just need to be smart about it. Okay, so let's talk more about PDFs because they're the most common type of portable document. So firstly, we need to realize that when we want to annotate on a PDF document, we need to have a version of Adobe that can read and edit PDFs, okay? So I think I have a different one because I have a different PC, but I think it's called Adobe Acrobat Reader. And when we read for specifically academic purposes, we need to check if this PDF is enabled for editing because sometimes it's locked and the creator of this document doesn't want us to make any changes to the text for various reasons. So we're going to go through some of the different annotations. Any questions? On what page did our lesson start? So we started on page, I think it was 56. Yes. The disadvantage of hardcovers is that it's heavy. Yes, I definitely agree. Carrying that textbook is so heavy. Okay, if we have it online, we can access it anywhere. In these days, there's so much convergence of information. Okay, so I can get the same information on my phone that I have on my computer, and it's so easily accessible instead of trying to find the textbook all the time. Okay, so we are on page 70, page 70. Okay. Okay, so any other questions? No, it's not plagiarism. That's not plagiarism at all. So it becomes the reason, speaking about Shirley's point, she says, I always thought editing a book on PDF and doing your notes, it's like plagiarism. So we're not editing a book, we're making notes, okay, for our own and better understanding. If we have to change something and send it to someone else, that's not good. So we shouldn't do that. And that's why a lot of the time people lock these documents. I have a friend that works at the German Chamber of, I think it's economics. And he asked me why in South Africa, he was interviewing people. He says, why in South Africa do people not make their CVs in a PDF document? And I said, no, it's just the way we do it in South Africa. We just submit things in a Word document. And he says, yes, but anyone can just change the information so easily. So you should have it in a PDF document. So apparently in Europe, that's the only way they work, by making sure documents are locked. So no one can make any editing or make any edits on it. Okay, so no, Matlatsi, I think that that it's not usually summarized. You get a lot of information online that's available in PDF formats. I read tons of things online. It's not summarized, but it's more challenging, I think, from a physical book. So here we go. So how do we use these kind of features? So we have the sticky note. Okay, you add comments in different places. You can highlight the text in a different color by using the highlighter tool. Underline the text. So maybe keywords, etc. Something interesting you can underline, you can strike through. Okay, maybe you find that the information that it's not it's not useful for you, so you can strike it out. Okay, add a note to replace text. So maybe you want to replace a word, etc. in the text, you can do that. Any questions? How is it more challenging? So we discussed that it's more challenging because we don't engage with the material in the same way. Okay, that's why. A book, we can pick it up, we can touch it all the time, read it, flip through the pages. We can't do that. We don't get that sensory feeling that's available with the hard copy. So, Tato and Sally, your hands are raised. I'm not sure if you want to say something. Tato, you'd like to say something? Okay. Then we can, oh, sorry, before I go on, has anyone done any of these? Have you used them on a PDF document? Who's never encountered a PDF document? Okay, that's good to know. Sifilela, you've never encountered a PDF?
I have, but then I am not sure how it works.
You mean to edit it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so unfortunately I don't have because I work with a different PC, I don't have, I use something else to edit, but I'll see if I can find it. And in the next lecture that we have this week, I'll just show you guys how we do it.
Okay, ma'am, we would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you guys would. So I'll see if I can get it on my computer. Highlighting and adding notes. Yes, I always add notes on PDFs. It looks exactly like this yellow sticky note here. And you can open it up and check it and you can find the information, etc. Okay, then we can insert text at the cursor, allows you to add or insert text at particular points. Add text comments, so you can add comments at particular points. Add a text box. Okay, I've never added a text box ever. And then we can draw free form, where you can draw freely on the page, circles, lines, symbols. I haven't done that either. Questions? Comments? So Bukeka says, if you open a PDF with a Word document, there's an option to enable editing. So Bukeka, we need to understand that sometimes there's permissions that allow us to do this, and other times there aren't permissions. So sometimes you have to have the software online, and it's a paid service where you have to do this. So you can sometimes do it, but not always. I don't think I have a PDF on my computer. I think I definitely do need to download it. Any other questions or comments? So let's talk about e-reading skills. So it's also challenging to read online. So we can mentally arrange the information in meaningful chunks. We can try to do this. It is challenging. I've also experienced a challenge in doing this. So we can scan it, or we can read in depth. I always read in depth when it comes to online information. And then it's useful to turn off any distracting notifications so that we can remain focused on the content. It is harder to read online because we constantly have digital devices at our disposal where we can easily log into anything. And I know our fingers are always twitching to go on that WhatsApp button or that Facebook icon, and we just click and click and click, and then we lose our train of thought. So I don't think we're gonna, it hasn't given me the notification that we're gonna get kicked out. it's going to end in 10 minutes here. So let me just read in depth. So when we talk about read in depth, it means that we go fully into reading the text and not just scanning or skimming. Yes, Tato, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. I have a question. I'm sorry to say this, but ma'am, you're too fast for me. So now I'm asking, are we gonna write some sort of test because I have a lot of work to catch up on?
What do you mean if we're going to write a test? So you guys
I
have.
don't. Oh yes, ma'am.
So you have an assessment. Okay. So guys, I think this online lectures is a little bit challenging. Okay. It's not like the way we work with in the classroom. So Tato, were you not understanding the lecture today?
Not that I was not understanding the lecture. It's just that it was too fast for me, ma'am.
Okay.
I feel like we under pressure because of time or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it is that way. Let me see if I have some links here, and then we can just discuss it further for another 40 minutes. So let's see if we can use this link.
Thanks, ma'am.
So here's a link, guys. If we get kicked out, everybody in the chat. Okay. Make use of that link that I've put in the chat if we get kicked out here. So let's spend a little bit more time with the material and engage and see if you have any questions or something that you'd like to say. Anyone wants to say something? Yes, Tato, you have your hand raised.
Oh, that was from previously. Sorry, ma'am. I keep forgetting to lower it.
Okay, I know it's very difficult in this kind of way of working. Okay, so we see that we can use various tools to help us to annotate when we are working with digital material. We are not done. Okay, so if there are are there no questions about the content of today's lecture, about what we do when we're reading and annotating? We are not done. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to discuss the assessment. So for those of you who haven't been onto Call Campus to see that there is an assessment, we have put it up. It's available online, and let me just tell you where it is. So it's under modules, and then you'll get your subject name, and you'll see it will be written the brief there. Who hasn't seen the assessment? Yes, you're more than welcome to start with it, but we haven't discussed everything and the ways of working and the Harvard method, etc. Okay, so guys, I've given you how to get into the assessment online. You're going to go module, subject name, and assessment brief. Okay, we're going to go through it now so that you guys know it exists. So it's going to say formative assessment. It's the first assessment. Okay, let's get into the information here. All assessments must be submitted on Call Campus. So you need to upload your assignment. Submissions will be open from Saturday, March 26th to Friday, 1st April. Between this period is when you can submit your assignment. If it's after that, it's late. Okay, and I'm not sure. I need to find out what the procedure is for late assignments. So let's go through it. This is an individual assessment designed to assess your understanding of the concepts you have been taught in academic literacy 1 this far. This assessment will be in the form of a written assignment to be uploaded on Call Campus. The assessment will require you to reflect on and be able to apply all the skills covered during the first 6 weeks of the semester. So lessons 1 to 12. We aren't done with all the lessons yet. So we're going to cover language literacy, writing skills, and the Harvard referencing. Okay. Yeah, there's 5 minutes left. Let's go into the next link. So I'll stop here and we're going to go into the link. Does everybody have access to the link? Yes, I'm going to explain. So let's get into the next link. Okay, does everybody have access to the link? Once again, I'm going to paste it in the chat. Let me just get it. Here is the link, everybody. Okay. So let's get into that link. I'm going to stop sharing now. I'll end this meeting and we'll go into the next one. So make sure you have the link.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, so just put your cameras off. I see somebody's cameras on. Okay, so guys, we're talking about this assessment. So the first one says there, the first question for 35 marks, you have been appointed as ADL 1 tutor at Boston Media House and your students tell you that they are not coping with reading text for understanding. Write a 500-word speech in which you persuade them to use the SQ3R method for studying. Your speech should provide a clear and referenced description of all the elements of the method, as well as the benefits of using it. Your speech should have a proper structure. Be sure to use the appropriate form of referencing and sourcing in your speech. So we haven't discussed referencing yet. We're going to start with the Harvard method in the next week. Not this week, the following week. So you can Google, okay? Google is your friend, so you can look at the information online about the Harvard method. And we're also going to discuss plagiarism in a lot of detail. Yes, Shirley?
So, ma'am, can I ask, when you find information on your textbook or Google, do you have to always refer, let's say maybe the first paragraph you got it from Google? Do you have to note it down that you got it from Google? The next paragraph, if you got it from the textbook, you write that you got it from a textbook, you write the author's name.
Yes. So wherever you get information, any kind of source that is not your own, even if it's the idea from someone else, you have to give credit to that person, to that book, to that author, the creator of that information. Okay?
But ma'am, when I write something, like I like to mix information.
Yeah, it's very complicated when you're doing that, because you're taking different ideas from different sources.
Yeah.
And
maybe this sentence I'm gonna take it from Google, and then the other one I'm gonna take it from my textbook, but in the end it's going to just make one paragraph which makes sense. So how do I go on about to write?
Yes, my angel, you can't do that. You have to, they say if it's more than 3 words, it's plagiarism. So for every 3 words that you take from a different source, it needs to be cited. Okay, so that's why as much as possible, we need to put things into our own words. We're gonna go through this process of paraphrasing and direct quoting, etc. Okay, so we must try to use our own words as much as possible. And our own words is not just synonyms. There's ways that we have to do things because it's still considered plagiarism. Okay.
Ma'am, sorry to disturb you again. Like when we use our own words now to answer a certain question.
Yeah.
That information that we're going to write, we took that information from somewhere.
Yes, and that's why you need to still provide a citation for that information because it's not your idea.
Okay. But when I'm trying to write in my own words and I write something, I learned that from somewhere, right? But I just can't recall where did I learn it. So what do I do?
So yeah, that's why it's complicated, right? To answer this kind of question. But like I said, more than three words, okay, then you have to give a citation. So you can't put the same 3 words. You have to put it in your own words. It's a skill that you have to learn. It's a skill. You have to practice it. And I know it's complicated and I know it's not easy. It's really not, but you have to practice. I see some questions. Do we have to do first, second drafts and editing? I'm not sure what that means. Do you have to do first, second draft and editing? So when we submit our assignments, we are submitting the final assignment. Everything must be perfect. Okay, so I don't want to see any drafts that are sent to me. It needs to be the final version according to the methodology that is asked, etc. 500 words, this is only the first part, guys. It's not that much. 500, guys, it's so little. Wow.
Ma'am. No,
guys, can I tell you know, when it comes to writing online articles, can I tell you what the minimum is for Google? Remember, I don't know if I told you guys about this, but there's a certain way to write on Google where you need to write with keywords. The minimum requirement is 800 words minimum.
Ma'am, we are
Right, so let's see here. So yeah, guys, 500 is so little. I also think it's so little. Okay, yes, you can type it. So I want to see if there's any questions. How will be able to submit the assessment on Call Campus? So it will be under the assignment tab. Okay, you submit under the assignment tab. Yes, we're in big school now. Guys, university and colleges are hectic. It's hectic. You can't even imagine what postgraduate is like. Yes, you used to write more in history. Definitely, guys. So any questions about the first question before we move on? So we did do a little bit of the SQ3R method, but now they want us to research. And even if we go to the marking criteria, we'll see that they want us to research. Yes, Mtaba. Ma'am,
are we writing the speech, or are we typing the speech, or are we recording the speech?
So if they say here, write a 500-word speech, they want written information. Okay, everything is going to be written. So when they say a speech, what they actually mean is they want an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Okay, and it has to be typed. So PDF. So yes, I'm not sure. I must just inquire if it's going to be a PDF or a Word document that they're asking for. I'm not sure about that, but I think, let me clarify before I say what I think, okay? So it must be typed. Okay, cool. Any other questions? Before we get into the second question. And remember, we have to answer all the questions. Okay, someone asked me in the previous class, is it only one question? And it's all the questions. But I really don't think this assignment is that difficult, to be honest with you. I feel like I'm going to have a problem on how and where to write my assessment. Why, Shirley? Tell me why in the chat. So let's go into the second question. It's for 35 marks. The COVID pandemic has shifted paradigms of teaching and learning to the use of virtual modes instead of the traditional face-to-face approaches. While some people are happy with this, some are not, citing many problems with virtual learning platforms. Okay, so this you can also extract from your own experiences. Write a 500-word essay discussing the potential effects of virtual learning on students' performance. Your essay should have an original, creative, and suitable title, and it should not be the effects of virtual learning on students' performance. So here we're looking for the potential effects. How could it potentially affect students' performance? And then, of course, be sure to use the appropriate form of referencing, which is the Harvard method. Lusanda, which part? Lusanda? Or Lusanda, yeah. Which part? I don't know which part Lusanda doesn't understand. Question 1, okay. So, question 1, you have been appointed as a tutor at Boston Media House, and your students tell you that they are not coping with reading a text for understanding. Write a 500-word speech in which you persuade them to use the SQ3R method for studying. So you're going to try to persuade them. Why should they use this SQ3R method for studying? Okay? And then it should be clear, it should have referenced information and all the benefits. It should be in a proper essay structure. Okay, just to go through that again. Let me look at some questions. So yes, do we write directly on Call Campus, PDF, PowerPoint, or what? How do we even upload it on Call Campus? So there will be a tab, you will see it will open up during the submission time where it will say upload assignment. So as I said before, I'm repeating myself here. I'm not sure if it's going to be in a PDF or Word document. I'm still going to get clarity on that. And when I do have clarity, I will be sure to send you the information. Okay, but the tab to upload will only open up during that submission period. Okay, yes, Shirley, and then ask your question.
So, ma'am, when we write things in our own words, like, is it advisable for us to just change maybe a few words? For instance, when the line says, let me go clean my room, then you decide to change it, like, let me go tidy my room.
So
is that how you?
Shirley, I think I'm repeating myself here. So I said anything more than 3 words, you have to cite the information. It's not your own words. So if the same 3 words you see from there, from a text, and you copy those 3 words, it needs to be cited. So there's a way that we have to do it, which I'm going to explain to you next week. Okay, this concept of paraphrasing, and I said to you, it's something that we have to learn how to do. Okay, it's challenging, but we have to learn how to do it. So anything more than 3 words, it needs to be cited. We need to show where it came from. Okay. Yes, Kylie, so.
Ma'am, when it says 500 words, can we go above that, or it has to be exactly 500 words?
I'll find out about that as well. Okay, I'm not.
Thank you.
I'll find out. Sally, yes? Yes, Sally? Sally, okay, Sally, I can't, there's something going on with your microphone or something there, yes. So, like, guys, this thing about...
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
This is where the potential effect.
It's very unclear, Sally. We can't hear you clearly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, it says the potential effect, and we say that it should not be effect of visual learning. So what's the difference there? What do you mean by potential effect?
So when we talk about something that's potential, it has not yet happened. Okay. So if we're saying the effects of virtual learning on students' performance, we've studied this. We already know what the effects are. There's been studies and research about it. Here we are considering the potential effects, what could happen. Do you understand the difference?
So you can still refer to the effects of virtual learning, right? And just...
Yes, you can refer to it. You can definitely refer to it, but we need to understand the difference between potential, okay, and the effects. So the effects of virtual learning on students' performance, there have been studies already, okay, it's already concluded that these are the effects. You can refer to the information, but here we are discussing the potential effects, what could happen. Yeah, okay. What are the possibilities? Hi, Kylie. So come on, so for example, we could say, I don't know if I haven't researched this topic. So we could say, for example, it's not conducive for, I'm giving you an example. It's not conducive for students in Africa because they don't have devices. Therefore, it's difficult for them to get into virtual learning classes. Also, the cost of data is so expensive, so they cannot get into the classes, okay? Things like this. So it's just an example, hey? It's an example. Okay. Yeah, so we need to remember that when we actually paraphrase, we cannot use synonyms, okay? So there's a particular way that we need to do it. Let's get on to the third question. Outline and describe the 5 stages of the writing process. Okay, that's for 10 marks. So I don't think that's too difficult to do. Any questions? Somebody's hand is raised. Yes, Bukeka?
Hi, ma'am. I was struggling to get into this link, so I just got into it now. The question that I have is, will this be recorded, or do you also need to email you to access this recording of you explaining the assignments?
Guys, everything is recorded, but in order for you to have the recordings, I need to put it into a format. So I can send you the video, the MP4, if you send me an email, but it's going to take a day or two for me to put it into like a YouTube link. Okay, so if you do send me an email, I will send you today's lectures, but it will be in an MP4 format.
All right, thank you.
Guys, you can find my email address on Call Campus. I'm going to say it for the 20th time now if I write my email. So check on Call Campus on the first page where it says welcome, and you'll see my email address. Right. So the first question is for 35 marks. The second question is for 35 marks. And then we're going to talk about where the other marks are going. The question 3 is for 10 marks. Okay. And let's go to the other parts of it. I'm reading your questions in the chat and comments. I'm going to get to it. Let's just go through this. So you guys can go through the learning outcomes on your own to see what it is that you need or should have learned, should I say. So the assessment criteria and mark breakdown. So this is how we are assessing you. Innovative and creative title for question 1, 2 marks. Description of the SQ3R elements 5. Clear articulation of 2 advantages of the method. Mentioning the advantage, explaining the benefits for 10 marks. Use of persuasive language 5. Critical thinking 3. Structure, so visible, introduction, body, conclusion 6. Evidence of research, okay? So we should not only use a textbook, we should use other sources of information. Actually, the textbook gives you very little information. Question 2. Innovative title 2 marks, reference definition of COVID-19. So look at what they are asking you for. Okay, look at what they are asking you for. Content, a clear articulation of at least 2 negative or positive effects, mentioning the effect. Okay, explaining how it is positively or negatively affecting performance, 3 marks each, 10 marks. Critical thinking. Okay. Adequately contextualizing the shift to virtual platforms and linking it to COVID. Okay, so look what they're saying. They're saying we need to contextualize it and link it to COVID. That needs a clear structure, 2 marks each for 2 components, evidence of research. And then question 3, which is the writing. So identify the stage. 5 marks, describe the stage, 5 marks. And then we get to the technical aspects, which is 20 marks. So no spelling, grammar, syntax error, formatting, references according to the Harvard method, 10 marks. So look at what they say about plagiarism, everybody. Any evidence of plagiarism will be penalized, 20% of your mark in the first year, which means that you can actually fail this assessment if you plagiarize. 10% minus 10% for failing to include a signed non-plagiarism declaration with your cover page. So on this brief at the bottom, you see there's a cover page included, which you need to fill in with every assignment. And you also need to sign the plagiarism declaration. This just made this assignment seem simple. Not
Ma'am,
easy. Yes.
and how are we gonna sign?
Yeah, so I want to show you guys some tools here, okay, that you can use. So I use this, you can draw with this, okay, and then it says here, draw with trackpad. I don't know if you have this option, but you can use this and sign. Or you can print it and upload it, okay, but I just use this most times, okay?
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Also, if you have PDF, if you guys don't know, you can sign with PDF as well, okay?
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Like, let me look at some of the questions in the chat. Please write your questions and we'll go through them. So, right, if you have any questions. So guys, I'm not going to help you with giving you information to the answers. I'm going to help you with understanding how we should do the assignment and what is required from you. So if you have questions in that context, I can help you with them. Okay, 10 marks for question 3. Okay, so where do we find guidelines of how to reference different sources, and do we reference everything? So Bukeka, we're going to talk about referencing and plagiarizing next week. Okay, we're going to talk about that and how we do it. Yes, okay. I don't think it's that complicated. You just need to follow the guidelines and make sure you tick everything off this box. Yes, so you can use PDF to sign. Omolemo says. Exactly, you can use Adobe, exactly. So any other questions? Is anyone confused about anything? So what I do is, when I study, okay, so if you don't know, I'm an A student. So I look at this. I look at this and I see what they are asking for. And I work according to this. Because then I know that I fulfill this criteria and I'm going to get this mark for this mark for this. Have I adequately answered the question according to this criteria? Okay, so it's read the question, what's asked from you, then go to the marking criteria and see how you plan to answer the question. Don't forget about the 20% of the mark that's going to come from the technical aspects. In reality, it's only going to take you some time to do question 1 and question 2. Question 3 is like 3 marks. Okay, any questions? So we all understand what to do.
Ma'am, I was about to ask for question 3, and you said until you mentioned that next week would be.
Sally, the sound is horrible. Sorry. Can you please repeat what you want to say?
Saying I was about to ask about question 3 for question 3, and then later on you mentioned that next week we'll be discussing about referencing and plagiarism, because there is answers according to my course to answer question 3, but then like you mentioned, we can use this way to make our own words.
Sally, no, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. So yes, speaking about this, we're gonna do question 3 next week. We're gonna talk about referencing and plagiarism next week. Sally, write it in the chat, okay? Omolemo, you'd like to say something?
Yes, ma'am. After signing the declaration form, do we attach it to our assignments, or you guys will automatically see that we have signed it?
No, you need to put it on the assignment. It needs to be attached to the assignment.
All right, ma'am. Thank you.
Bukeka, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. So basically my question was, does that mean we don't necessarily start the assignment now because we haven't discussed the details on how we reference? Do we just familiarize ourselves with the assignment for now until we have that lesson where you describe in detail the plagiarism?
No, so you guys can get started now. You can write down thoughts, you can research information, just to get a head start. Okay. I mean, even if you wanna to have some information about how you reference, you can even Google how to do Harvard referencing. It's quite technical and complicated, but I'm going to give you guys a very good, useful tool that is going to help you so much because I'm so nice. So it's not going to make it too complicated to do, but we're still going to practice how to do it in next week's lecture. So collect information, write your thoughts, brainstorm, etc. And then, yeah, I mean, read the textbook, see what you have to do, just get started. It's always good to start as soon as possible. Okay. Sorry, guys, I don't know what's wrong, but I've been answered. Sally? Oh, okay. All right. Oh, yeah, so just any other questions? Basically, you have to write 1,000 words. Was there a virtual recorded lesson about referencing? We haven't discussed referencing yet. We are going to do it next week, which will be a contact lecture. And if you also have any questions, we can do it during that contact session. So yeah, guys, just start as soon as possible, brainstorming, researching, okay? So look at this brief and see what's required from you. Any other questions? Yes, you can definitely start with your research. So guys, please look at your timetable. So I think if I have to open up mine, I can. So this is group 2. So it's tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be discussing listening. So tomorrow from 10:20 to 12:20, you are with me. Yes. As far as I'm concerned, my lecturer initially was a male and now it's a different lecturer. Does it matter which lecturer I send my assignment to? So remember that we're working in groups. Okay, guys, for the administrative part of this, of you as a student, you need to ask Karika, okay? As far as I know that I deal with 2 groups, group 2 and group 3 for ADL 1. And then there's Varna, who maybe that Sally's talking about, that deals with the other groups. Okay, so please find out from Karika with regards to the groups and the classes, etc. Okay, that's very sweet of you. I've been in education for a long time and I know that we have to do things a little bit differently, okay, when it comes to education and teaching. So whilst doing my research, it's recommended that I write my sources down. Yes. So Mbata has a very critical point. I didn't touch on it yet because we're only going to discuss referencing next week, okay? So write where you get the information from. Note down the title, the author, okay, the link, etc. And then next week, I will give you guys information about how we do it. We'll do some practice articles of referencing as well. And then I will provide you with that wonderful tool to reference. What if I get my information from YouTube? We still have to reference that information. Okay, all information that is not our own, we need to reference. I think in the beginning, I told you guys that we don't want people to steal our ideas. Okay, if we worked really hard and we brought out this knowledge, whatever knowledge it is, it still belongs to us. Why do we want someone else to steal it and say it's theirs? We need to give credit to the person. Okay, Natando. Alrighty. Anything else that I need to touch on? Okay, are we sorted for today? And what about any questions about electronic materials or reading? Anything about that? Visual organizers, conceptual diagrams, everything is good? Okay, all right. So guys, okay, it's my pleasure. It was a wonderful lesson with you guys. And remember, if you have any questions or that you would like to ask me about the brief or anything else, just send me an email. Okay, today I won't have a proper link up. I still need to see how to do it with my software. But
Thank you very much,
I'll send you the videos and I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to do listening. Okay, bye everybody.
Have a blessed day. Have a blessed day,
Bye.
ma'am.
Thank you so much. I hope the same for you.
Sweet.
Okay, everybody. Class closed.
Are you guys okay?
How do I even leave this group, guys? That's the new thing.
Okay, who closes the class? Is it us or the lecture?
I think the lecture is already gone.
No,
Okay, you can also leave.
Just exit.
Yeah,
Don't
we
ask
just
can.
leave.
But we can discuss maybe. But we can